Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we're doing another installment of the weekly meta breakdown where we look at the top performing decks on the MTG Arena ladder. Today's video we're going to be looking at standard best of 1. If you're looking for best of 3 other formats, take a look at the playlist. We try to get them out weekly and try to cover everything from there. So the stats we're going to be getting from Untapped GG, what you see on the screen, companion tool that runs alongside Arena's client, aggregates user win rates, so your own win rates with other users, gives us a whole bunch of cool stats. Link for Untapped is in the video description if you want to get started with them. And I'll paste all these decks and timestamps. From a content perspective, if you're new here or just haven't been keeping up, I'm actually going into surgery in a couple days. So this is probably the last video I put up before then. So probably 1 to 2 weeks, limited to no content that will be coming out as I go through and recover from surgery. So if you can, throw on any of my old videos, just keep them running in the background. It's greatly appreciated. Just helps with the algorithm that way there while I'm not getting videos out. So the YouTube overlords don't forget about me, but we will get through and get started. So we're going to start with popularity of decks, and then we'll go to the deck lists themselves. Popular deck doesn't necessarily correlate to highest win rate. Some things are just played because people enjoy the archetype, stuff like that. So Diamond and Mythic rank popularity of the day. We have Mono Red continuing to be the most popular deck at 20% of the meta, 1 in 5 games. Boros Control and Selesnya Enchantments both making up about 8%, followed by Mono White Humans, Mono Black Aggro, just in the mid-single digits. Esper Control, Gruul Aggro, and Golgari all at like 3-ish%. We're looking at kind of the historical trend. We see a very, very large spike, which coincides with the beginning of the month. This is typically seen each kind of ladder reset in terms of spikes. If we look also like in past, November 5th, November 1st, October 31st, people always kind of pick up the deck right as the ladder resets and we start to see a decline. We did see another spike in the Mono Black Aggro deck that then kind of fell down in terms of week over week. So it doesn't seem to have the same sustainability. Boros Control peaked at about 10% and kind of fallen a couple percents. And then we also saw this Gruul Aggro list, the Picnic Robber, get to about 7%, and now it's kind of fallen to the low percentages in terms of volume of games played. So looking at the stats, we have 92,000 games of Magic best of 1 played from January 10th through to the 17th, Diamond and Mythic rank. And jumping into it, Mono White Humans at the highest win rate for the week at 64%. And this deck here is been pretty static. We've seen some variations go all in humans. We've seen some just go with the mono white kind of aggressive slanted angle. This version here, we have Luminarch Veteran to kind of help you with gain some life against more of the aggressive decks. We see mono red being very popular. So if all your creatures also gain you a life, especially with like Adeline, stuff like that, plays pretty nicely. Recruitment Officer for card advantage, Skrell for protection. This version of the deck as well is playing full laydown arms package along with the Brutal Cathars. So a little bit more removal than what we typically see. Sometimes you'll see ossification in these lists, but this gives you a little bit higher density of removal. Coppercoat Vanguard and Intrepid Adversary as kind of anthem effects, lord effects for your creatures. This is a terrible alternate treatment of this card. These etched foil, like maybe it looks decent in person, but this looks terrible as a scan. Thalia, Guardian of Thraben in here, just as a tax effect. We have the Adelines. This version's also on 2 Werefox Bodyguards. It can be used aggressively as removal or defensively. So if your opponent's going to kill one of your creatures, you can flash it in and protect your creature. It also has some life gain, which is nice. And then you have Knight Errant of Eos, which can provide you some card advantage. 22 islands or plains, and an Aganjo in here as well. Moving on, we go to Selesnya Enchantments at 63.4%, 170 games. So this is playing, it's like an enchantment style aggro deck. Notably, no, I forget the name, the vampire that cares about enchantment count. The name is eluding me, but Life Flinker that does help times against mono red. We've seen some numbers of it get played in the past, but the core of the deck is when you're casting enchantments with Calyx out or with Generous Visitor, you're going to put counters on things, which gets them bigger. Similarly with Kami gets bigger, and then what you ideally want to do is use a Mashiko to power up any of your big creatures. either naturally have trample or with audacity have trample. The Weaver of Harmony can double ETB effects or triggered abilities, so you can double the activation of Mashiko, the double removal from Ossification as an example as well. Because you're playing Ossifications, you'll notice the mana base is a higher density of basic forests and plains to allow you to have the Ossification targets included in there. Now, Mono Red Aggro is the next deck. We see it at 61%. This is actually kind of a unique one. This was the highest win rate of the Mono Red decks this week, and it's a little bit different than what we're normally accustomed to. It is a little bit more budget focused, but you are playing more aligned with like the Gruul Aggro with various pump spells. So Mirror and Blade Splitter enters the battlefield, attached to target creature at flash, so it's a bonus in terms of power. A little bit more cheaper removal with the Strangles to accompany the Play with Fires and Lightning Strikes. Boldare and Aperture in here in the 1-drop slot, pings and lets you loot with the blood. Stolen Vitality is another pump effect. If it's your turn, that creature gets trample, otherwise first strike, so kind of a combat trick here. So it's more kind of sly red pump effects, Reckless Impulse for card advantage, Blazing Crescendo as another pump effect that provides some card advantage as well to squeeze in this version. You can play Sokuzan in the mana base, it's free to play, I would suggest playing it. It just gives you an out if in case you flood out. So don't know if this is necessarily better than the other version, but it's fairly cheap to kind of configure from there, since it's not really like the rares that you're playing in this deck are already rares played in the other deck, and it gives you a bit more in terms of just explosiveness, but you are a little bit more susceptible to removal in that case. But interesting take there. Next deck is a deck we haven't really seen much of. This is 5-color Legends, and this looks like I took my Joda Brawl deck and ported it over to Standard, and this is a 60.3% win rate deck after 130 games. So reasonable sample size, not like huge, but they still pull 60%. A lot of one-ofs in this deck, but it's a Legends pile that's leveraging Relic of Legends as well as Joda the Unifier to let you cascade into other legends. De Jure and Hazard can also free cast stuff. Plaza Heroes as well as Secluded Courtyard get leveraged here. Majority of these are humans, so you have 8 kind of soul lands in the deck. Also similar to the Esper Legends deck, you're playing some of the channel lands that get you utility, as well as Cavern of Souls in here. So really a lot of dual lands or multicolored lands. So ideally you want to try to find your Jodas, and then you have things like Denic, Protection with Hajar and Jarina. Catilda can help you ramp up as well. Ruby, similar idea. Rona lets you draw discard. Then your payoffs like Adeline, Akin Patel. Gwenna also helps you ramp. Shauna can gain you life. Alana pumps up your team. Sigarda for card advantage. So can't really tell you why, one of this, one of that, 2 of this, 4 of that. But kind of the core of the deck is you really want to get Joda out, and then you just snowball from there, casting your Legends. A lot of the decks will have a bit of a problem dealing with much bigger creatures, like if it against Mono Red, you just want to survive to that point. Moving on, we go to Gruul Aggro. So similar to the Mono Red deck, this is a Sly style deck, looking to go aggressive with pump spells, stuff like that. 59% win rate with this deck. So you have similar with the Swiss Spears, you have Cacophony Scamp, which when you pump it up, it can deal damage, then you can sacrifice it and deal extra damage that way. Picnic Ruiner can get double strike, but also distribute counters. Questing Druid for card advantage gets bigger, and then you have a Maya Iconoclast, similar idea. Reasonable body, 2 mana, 3/2 trample, that can get a boost for 3 mana. The trample's a big thing if you have a lot of pump spells, but Audacity for trample and pump. Giant Growth as a pump effect. Kumanos, you have the Mirror in Battle. Bane Splitter, Monstrous Rage. So looking to just play a creature, smack out a whole bunch of damage onto your opponent, hope that they don't interact with your creature. Naya Dinosaurs, deck we haven't seen too much in recent weeks, 58%. So this version here is kind of built around the fight rigging package. And then what you're doing is things like Innkeeper, Paleontologist, you have some Watleys to find you lands, Gwenna that can also ramp you up to your bigger things, similar with Hulking Raptor, but you're trying to get out the fight rigging as early as possible, use Pugnacious Hammer Skull as the cheapest enabler for the deck, and then just start cheating in big dinos. Your Bonehorde Dracusaur, Polani's Hatcher, Kogla, Trumpeting Carnosaur, which are then also Cascades, Tali, Galta and Marvin, Gashoth, Spore Nexus, a lot of big bombs. Just about the ramp to get there going. Kind of looking at this deck, your curve's very much leaning one way, so you may get hands that are very much a lot of big things without earlier things to do. You may want to look at either like more Intrepid Paleontologists, more Lore Keepers potentially in there as well, just to ease things up. Mana base is a little budgety here. The Rugged Highlands should be replaced by Carpoolson Forest, and then you probably could get away with playing a couple more Cavern of Souls just to cast your off-color dinosaurs as well. Then move to Boros Aggro. So this is kind of a mashup between the Humans deck and just kind of like the Pioneer Convoke deck. So you're using Gleeful Demolition with artifact targets from the Blood token or Yodian Frontliner. This will let you get a bunch of cheap tokens. You can convoke out Knight Aaron of Eos, or just power up like big Bunnicorns, give a boost of power with Imidane's Recruiter or Sanguine Evangelist through Battle Cry attacks, and then Warden of the Inner Sky can tap a bunch of things to get bigger. So you're kind of using like that. So you go wide, and then with Anthem effects, go tall with Regal Bunnicorn mixed in. Thran Portal and Murex just help offset the kind of crappy mana base that Boros has, since you don't have a fast land. But if you like aggressive decks, this is actually not too bad to build towards, because a lot of these cards see play in the Pioneer version or Explorer version as well. And then lastly, Esper Control. So we've seen blue-white control week over week. So this version here of the Esper deck gives you Dreams of Steel and Oil. You get to choose an artifact or creature from your opponent's hand in exile. So kind of like Alternate Duress, March of Wretched Sorrow can gain you some life against aggressive decks. You have Anoint with Affliction as cheap removal, along with Get Lost, Path to Peril to sweep up aggressive things, Void Wrens in here as catch-all removal, Jace, Sorin, and Wandering Emperor as your win conditions, Farewell is another sweeper, and Memory Delusion here. The one thing I'll say with this, the removal package is a little bit expensive, I think. You probably want like cut downs or just like Go for the Throats maybe mixed into here. This, while useful in most cases, Go for the Throat can then scale up, hit some bigger things as well if needed. Your mana base, you got some Restless Reefs, the Rafine's Tower mixed into here. So you do have quite a density of creature lands that can also help you win the game. So that's it for the week. Let me know what you think, what you've been playing. And like I said, taking about a week to 2 weeks off. Hope everybody enjoys Magic during that time, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Thanks for watching.